Well, today we will be reading from the glorious Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto. And today we'll be covering verses, we're going to be in chapter 28, entitled Pranjana Becomes a Woman in the Next Life. And today we'll be doing text 45 and 46, since they're both short purports. So I'll just read through 45 and we'll do 46 responsively. Ajnati Priyatamang Yado Paratang Gana Susthirasan Asadya Yata Parvamupacharat. Translation. We don't have to do this. Okay. The daughter of King Vidarbha continued as usual to serve her husband, who was seated in a steady posture until he could ascertain that he had passed away from the body. Purport by Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It appears that the queen did not even talk to her husband while serving. She would simply perform her Prashadab duties without talk. Thus, she did not stop burning until she could ascertain that her husband had passed from the body. Now that I forgot this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chaiva Narottam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Udirayat. Nasha Preshwa Bhadrishu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Uttam Shloke. Bhakti Naishtaki. Alright, now we'll properly begin. Yadanopala Bhitangra Yadanopala Bhitangra Ushmanam Patyurarchate Asit Sangvigna Hridaya Yudha Brashta Mrigi Yatha Yadanopala Bhitangra Ushmanam Patyurarchati Asit Sangvina Hridaya Yudha Brashta Mrigiyatha Yadanopala Vitangra Ushmanam Patyurarchati Asit Sangvina Hridaya Yudha Bhrashta Mrigiyatha. Bolo. Yadanopala Bhitangra Ushmanam Pratyurachati Ushmanam Pratyurachati Samvigna Hridaya Yuta Brashta Mrigiyatha Yuta Brashta Mrigiyatha Yadanopala Bhitangra Ushmanam Pratyurachati Asti Sangvigna Hridaya Yuta Brashta Mrigiyatha Asisamvika Hridaya Mrigiyatha. Okay. Synonyms. Yada, when, na, not. Upalavita, could feel. Angrao, in the feet. Ushmanam, heat. Patyuhu, of her husband. Arachati, or servant. Asi, she became. Samvigna, anxious. Hridaya, a heart. Yutha, Prashta, bereft of her husband. Mrigi, the she deer. Yatha, as. Alright, translation. While she was serving her husband by massaging his legs, she could feel that his feet were no longer warm and could thus understand that he had already passed from the body. She felt great anxiety upon being left alone. Bereft of her husband's company, she felt exactly as a deer feels upon being separated from its mate. Please repeat after me. While she was serving her husband by massaging his legs, she could feel that his feet were no longer warm. And thus could understand that he had already passed from the body. She felt great anxiety upon being left alone. Bereft of her husband's company, she felt exactly as a deer feels upon being separated from its mate. Purport. As soon as the circulation of blood and air within the body stops, it is to be understood that the soul within the body has left. The stoppage of the blood circulation is perceived when the hand and feet lose heat. One tests whether a body is alive or not by feeling the heart's palpitations and the coldness of the feet and hands. Om Agena Dhamarandasya Ginanjana Shalakaya Takshu Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtham Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagadahmayam Dadati Swaparantikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandha Jagatpate Gopisha Gopaka Kanta Raha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sudrevi Panamami Hari Pre Vancha Kalpa Thuru Vyasa Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitana Bhavnevyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pacharine Evisesh Shun Varpasha Tiresh Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Alright, I'll reread today's verses. The daughter of King Vidarbha continued as usual to serve her husband, who was seated in a steady posture until she could ascertain that he had passed away from the body. While she was serving her husband by massaging his legs, she could feel that his feet were no longer warm and could thus understand that he had already passed from the body. She felt great anxiety upon being left alone. Bereft of her husband's company, she felt exactly as a deer feels upon being separated from its mate. So here we can see that her husband, King Malayadwaja, has officially left his body. What differentiates a living body from a dead body? Everything's there. You got the heart, you got the brain, the veins, the guts, the blood, the pus, all the fun stuff. But what ascertains that the body is dead? You have everything there, but if there's one aspect that's not there, then no matter what a scientist or doctor does, that body cannot be brought back to life. That's never happened. There's never been a Frankenstein. And that's the soul. The soul being there is what differentiates a dead body and a living body. Hence, when somebody leaves their body, we say he's gone or he's not here. As soon as the soul leaves the body, people usually don't want to be around the body anymore. They don't want to go up and kiss the body. The same body they may have kissed before, but now that the soul's not there, it's gross, even if it's just moments after. Because we understand on a subconscious level that we're not the body, and that the soul leaves the body. So we can see with the body that it's subject to 6 kinds of transformations. We can see this in anything from the humans, the animals, the insects, the plants, germs. Its transformations is that it takes birth in the womb of the mother's body. It remains for some time, grows, produces some effects, gradually dwindles, and at last vanishes into oblivion. We're all at one of these stages or another. I'm at one stage, you're at another, and you're at another. We're all going through these 6 transformations of the body because we're embodied souls. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse 32, Krishna himself says that time I am the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people. So actually, all of us are diseased in this material body. We're all dying at every second. Every second, as soon as you take birth, you're dying right away. We may end up with some type of sicknesses that speed up the process, but you're destined to die, I'm destined to die, we're all destined to die at some point. This cannot be avoided within this material body. So we're dying at every moment. If something doesn't get you beforehand, like someone murdering you or you get cancer or one of these other things, then time will eventually devour you. You're not an exception. None of us are an exception. They say one thing's for certain, and that's death. Taxes. So with this in mind, that we're all going to die at some point, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what culture, belief, race, gender, death isn't, it doesn't differentiate. So what is what you're doing currently worth it? And was what you're stressing and full of anxiety about going to ultimately benefit you? We have so many of these things that we constantly have within our head, so many plans we're trying to get so that we could make the best of our life. But ultimately, are these things going to help you in the end? Are these necessary things, or are these things that will get taken away with time and ultimately amount to nothing? You may spend this whole life building up the best life you could think of. You could, you got that white picket fence, the pretty girl next door, nice Lamborghini, whatever it is. But
What you doing next door?
hey, I'm not judging here. but ultimately, you spend this whole life making all this beautiful arrangements to make your life the way you want it. But even if it goes well in this life, at the end of it, it's all going to be taken away, and you got to start back at square one once again. And you're not even guaranteed a human birth right after this birth. You're probably going to end up taking lower species of births, insect, animal, all these other things. So want you to live their life in such a way that at the end you remember Krishna. That's the ultimate thing, is at the end, are you really going to remember Krishna? Or at least will Krishna remember you and the service you did to him? Because all these things will amount to nothing if they're not in connection to Krishna. All these things will have their good and bad results to them. All these deeds, all these things that we're adding to our life will have a good or bad effect, unless it's in the service of Krishna for Krishna's satisfaction. So one must do whatever they can within this life to prepare for the final exam of death, because that could be at any time. It's not that you should wait till you're older in your age to do this thing, because you could die at a young age. Who knows? Maybe it's crossing the street. Maybe you get hit, or you end up with some type of terminal disease. So many things could come that you don't make it to an old age. Many times we find that people don't make it to an older age. So we should prepare. And we see within this, within the marriage of King Malaya Dwaja and Vidarbhi, that she is serving her husband up to the point of death. He is preparing for death, and she's trying to aid him in his process of death. It says right here that she continued to serve her husband, who was seated in a steady posture, until she could ascertain that he had passed away from the body. So she was trying to help him in his process of leaving this body. And it's described in the purport by Prabhupada that she was silent. She did this without talk. So, he's leaving his body through the process of meditation. And so she's trying to help aid him by not disrupting his meditation, but making sure that he's within that state when he leaves his body. So this is one of the greatest services that one can do for another individual, is help them remember Krishna at the end. Through our process, we do that by chanting. Just like we did for Kuntanath Prabhu when he left his body. So many devotees from here and from around all went there and chanted for him. He was given Ganga water. He was given tulasi leaves. He was given the whole 9 yards to help him in his process of leaving the body. Now, we may or may not be fortunate enough to have that. Not everyone will necessarily get that. But we can help other people in that process. And actually, service in general to a devotee is the highest thing someone could do. Not just when they leave their body. It shouldn't be that you only come for the end of their time within this embodiment. That, now he's dying, now I'll go associate, now I'll do something for him. We should serve and associate before they die. And this is even expressed by Lord Shiva about how high service to devotee is. It says in the Padma Purana that Aradhananang Sarveshang Vishnu Aradhanang Param Tasmat Para Tarang Devi Tadyanang Samarchanam. That of all worships, the worship of Lord Vishnu is the highest. Therefore, O Goddess, the worship of his devotees is even higher. That's a pretty exalted state. Lord Shiva is said to be one of the greatest Vaishnavas, the greatest Vaishnava. And he himself is saying that even higher than worship Lord Vishnu is service to his devotees. Now, what does that exactly mean? Well, we'll go step by step into that, but one time in a lecture Prabhupada was giving, he mentioned that there's no difference between Krishna's name, his form, between his quality, between his pastimes, between his abode, and between his entourage. There is no such difference. Now, is it saying that the devotee is God? No, it's not exactly saying that a devotee is God, but they are one in the same with the Lord in the fact that they align with the Lord's will. The Lord says that this is your constitutional position, is loving service to me, and if you spread this to other people, this is like wonderful. This, you are so dear to me by doing this, by explaining this knowledge, by bringing others to me. They're in line with His will. Whatever the Lord wants, they will do. And in a higher sense, they won't do anything for their own selves, but everything for whatever the Lord wants. Whether it means they have good things happen to them or the worst of things happen to them. So they are representatives of Lord, and so they should be treated as such. They're representing the Lord on His behalf. The Lord doesn't have to personally come right in front of you, and oftentimes He doesn't. He comes through His representative, who's teaching about Him, spreading His glories. We also see this within other practices, or even within our own practice, that He sends down people to teach this. And other practices, you have Jesus, for example, or you have the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. You see that he sends down a representative to teach the same knowledge. Or within our line, you have great exalted devotees like Narottam Das Thakur, or even Bhakti Siddhanta and Srila Prabhupada. He sends down these great souls to be able to spread this knowledge time and time again. So, in the purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.22, Prabhupada mentions that there's a common saying that one should first love the dog of the beloved before one shows any loving sentiments for the beloved. The stage of pure devotion is attained by sincerely serving a pure devotee of the Lord. The first condition of devotional service to the Lord is therefore to be a servant of a pure devotee, and this condition is fulfilled by the statement, reception of the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who has also served another pure devotee. This is the way of pure disciplic succession, or devotional parampara. So it is through the devotees that we can learn how to develop this love for Krishna. And actually, the Lord is very pleased by this. Otherwise, He wouldn't instruct things among this line. I've used this example before. I'll use it again, even though I need to find a better example or another way to word it. But it's just like if someone is hoping to marry a single mom, for example, there's 3 ways one could go about this. And so one way is that they treat her kids like crap. They completely disrespect the kids. And generally, the mother won't be pleased by this. The mother will be like, all right, you need to go. You should leave, generally speaking. Another way one could go about this is that they only focus on the mom, but they completely exclude the kids. Mother may be pleased by this, but it's kind of like, okay, like I like it, but there's something not there. But when one loves both the mother and her kids, the mother is super pleased by this. Oh, he loves my own kids who aren't even his, and he loves me, and he's doing all this for me. Like, wow, what a great guy. So similarly, Krishna doesn't just want us to serve or love Him only, but His devotees, because His devotees are so dear to Him. They're like His children. So if we disrespect His devotees, we can expect that Krishna won't be so pleased with us. But if we love and serve as devotees, we can expect that Krishna will be pleased by us. And by serving and loving both, we will come to the highest stage. Also in the lecture, Prabhupada mentions that one has to engage himself in the service of the pure devotee. As soon as we serve a pure devotee, as is spoken by Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada. Yasya Prasada. If you satisfy a pure devotee by you service, then even there in some even if there is some discrepancies, you get all these qualities. So it is through the mercy of the Vaishnavas that we can get these good things, that we get their mercy, and that also we get Krishna's mercy. And through that, we also gain the qualities that will help us in our service, will develop those pure qualities. If you associate with those in the mode of ignorance, you're going to attain the mode of ignorance. If you associate with those in the mode of passion, you're going to be in the mode of passion. So you must associate with like-minded people, or at least the people that you're trying to be like. Even better if you could be around people higher up than you in knowledge and quality and so forth. My dad used to tell me that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You should be around people that are more intelligent than you, some people that push you to go further. So we should aspire to be around devotees that can push us to go to that higher level, that can help us in gaining these qualities and so forth, being able to carry out our service in a pleasing way. We can see example of this all in Narada Muni. In the first canto, Narada Muni talks about his previous birth. He was born to a simple maidservant, not very high in position in most people's standards. But there were these great Vedantists, Bhakti Vedantists, as Prabhupada words it, that came to their dwelling and during the rainy season. And so he would constantly serve these devotees, listen to them about what they were speaking. He'd take the remnants and so forth. And Narada Muni mentions that I was very much attached to those sages. I was gentle in behavior, and all my sins were eradicated in their service. In my heart, I had a strong faith in them. I had subjected the senses, and I was strictly following them with body and mind. So you can see that he was very much attentive to their service, and that by doing so, he got purified. And of course, by taking the remnants, he was being purified by this process. Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing the glories and speaking the glories. And by this, we get Smaranam Vishnu. We get remembrance of Krishna. And just these three things alone are powerful enough to do so much. Because if you remember Krishna, if there's light, how can there be darkness? If there's light in your mind, how could you sin knowing Krishna? You know what's for the best. You know he's right there with you. If you have full, complete knowledge of him, then you won't have all this ignorance that causes you to perpetually make all these sins and grave mistakes. So, again, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22, it is mentioned that it is the verdict of all Shastras and great personalities that service to a pure devotee is a path of liberation. By contrast, association with materialistic people who are attached to material enjoyment and women is a path of darkness. Those who are actually devotees are broad-minded, equal to everyone, and very peaceful. They never become angry, and they are friendly to all living entities. So here again, talks about how by being around these great devotees, serving them and associating with them, even by doing that, just the path of liberation itself is available. Let alone love of God himself is available. it mentions the qualities of these devotees. You know, they're actually broad-minded, equal to everyone, very peaceful, never become angry, and friendly to all living entities. So this is higher than like most individuals we encounter in the mundane world. Especially finding all these qualities in one person is very rare unless they're saintly or have association with God or God's devotees. Um, it's also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 18 that and we say this one a lot, that by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, constantly serving the devotees. So even just by attending this class right here, like y'all are doing and most of you do at least on a constant basis or every now and then when you have the availability to, uh, by doing this, by serving the devotees like this, all that's troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed. We have so many anarthas or unwanted desires, so many things that we've accumulated through so many lives that have created samskaras or impressions within our mind, that we see constantly come out and that we don't want. Maybe we get angry easily. Maybe we are greedy from time to time. All these different things. Maybe we're attached to certain things or do unwanted habits. But simply by doing this process right here, one starts to lose all these troubles. They slowly start to drop. You can try to forcefully do all these things, but it's not guaranteed. Even I'm gonna say Bharat Maharaj, he ended up going to the forest to do things alone. He was doing austerities and all this alone, thinking I can do this. But just to prove that the importance of devotee association, a deer came in his way and he ended up taking care of this baby deer. And slowly, from being such in a high exalted position, he focused on this deer so much that he stopped doing all these austerities so nicely. And being so attached and so focused on this deer, at the end of his life, he took a deer body. Because he wasn't fixed up. He was missing one thing. He was missing the devotee association. He was thinking he could do this alone. So as an example of what not to do and show the importance, he was turned into a deer because you need devotee association. Even in the spiritual world, do you think it's just going to be solely you and Krishna alone? That the grass below you isn't a living entity that's also serving Krishna, the trees are also living entities serving Krishna, and that he's going to ignore all those people and just focus on only you? There's that love there, but it's not so vast. When we want to hang out with someone, oftentimes we want to do something with other people as well. At least one other person, maybe two, maybe three, maybe more. We want to do a bit more together, and in this way, we get to have a little bit more fun with it. Oftentimes, if it's just one-on-one, a lot of people eventually get tired of one another, and eventually they start maybe having arguments or fighting with one another. Not saying that we necessarily have that with Krishna, but the thing is that there's more enjoyment, more love, and getting to do things all together. And Krishna gives us the opportunity, Prabhupada gives us the opportunity through ISKCON, through devotee association. We get to perform these things. And at times when things get hard, I'm struggling with giving this up, I'm struggling with this mental affliction or this attachment, you have devotees right there to help you out. Some of them themselves have even been through these exact same things. So they can help pinpoint, okay, this is what I personally did, so maybe you should give this a shot. Or maybe you should do this. Or even just by being devotees alone, your mind isn't so focused on all these things that you're attached to or that you're worrying about. We see oftentimes if we're constantly with the devotees, a lot of those troubles and stresses go away for a moment at least. And if we're around them long enough, they might just fall away. Maybe I'm attached to smoking and all that. I got this addiction. But let's say I hang out with the devotees every day. We're doing devotional things together, talking devotionally. Now I'm so wrapped up in this, I'm not so focused on that. And now I'm not smoking every 20 minutes, every hour, whatever it may be. And, maybe if I do that on a consistent basis, I start losing that addiction, that attachment to this lower thing. You gain a higher taste. You realize that there's more to do and there's things that I don't need it to overcome my anxiety and stress anymore. The devotees, the devotee association, the service, bhakti itself is all taking this away from within. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-16, and yeah, this is a very popular verse. I just mentioned that, twice scorned sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. So it may be at first that we're not so attached to hearing about God. I mean, we came to the material world to kind of avoid God, and through our conditioning, we push him aside. So it may be that hearing about God all day long, talking about pretty much only God and all this is hard for a lot of people. They don't have that taste. But it's described that if you're serving the devotees, that taste will arise from within you. Because it is by hearing that we advance. Hearing is one of the most important things. Even above kirtanam, there's no kirtanam in one sense if you cannot hear. Hearing also means reading. So hearing is one of the most essential things. You might not be knowledgeable. You might not be able to do a whole lot. But if you could simply hear or read, so much will come from just that alone. And from that comes everything. And Mahaprabhu even talks about this. He himself is God who came as a devotee to show how devotees should be. Because not everybody knew what a devotee should be like. Some people, they get stuck up in times of old. And for example, in like Judaism, there for a while you had the Pharisees and all that stuck up. Oh, I know all the laws of Moses and this and this and that. We're talking like so many laws that it's pretty difficult for a common person to be able to follow all those. And in general, that wasn't possible. They forgot the purpose. And even in times of old with people in India, I was born a Brahmana, I was born this, look at my position, but they were missing the essence. Some people even think that you could serve God directly, that you could just jump to God. So God comes down and he shows, okay, this is the process of serving. This is the process of being a devotee. He himself didn't even openly like to claim that he was God, because so many people in this day and age claim, I'm God, you're God, we're God, or I'm God, worship me, this, and that. So he didn't even do that. He was trying to show how is a devotee supposed to be. So he states in Madhya Lila 1380 that I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya or a Shudra, nor am I a Brahmachari, a householder, a Vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as a servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. Servant, not even just the servant of the servant. He puts himself as a servant of the servant of the servant. He puts himself so low, so low. This is humbleness, because we cannot approach Krishna directly. He's not cheap. Great sages meditate on him for thousands of years. for many births, many lifetimes, trying to attain the ultimate goal, but so many of them don't make it. They perform all these austerities. Maybe they're up in the Himalayas where it's so cold. Maybe they're surrounding themselves by fire when it's hot out. Maybe they're meditating underwater. They're doing all these extreme things to realize the ultimate truth. But God himself says that in Bhagavad Gita 7:3 that out of many thousands among men, one man endeavor for perfection. And out of all those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Why is that? Because he's not cheap. He doesn't have to show himself to everyone. He doesn't have to give himself to everyone. There's a process to this. And if you're not going to follow the process, he's only going to, as you surrender unto him, he'll come to you proportionately. He'll reveal himself proportionately. So he's given this process. Even as Mahaprabhu, he's not directly going to Krishna. Well, in one sense he is, but he's going through the devotees, showing an example. So we can approach God through his devotees. That's the main thing. And in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most famous verses and an important verse, 4:34, Krishna himself says, just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. They have seen the truth. We're not mentally speculating this up. We're not going to someone else who's mentally speculating these things up. We're going through this line of disciplic succession. God taught a personality, that personality taught another person, that person taught another person, not adding or subtracting anything down a line, not concocting anything. That way the message remains the same and the process remains the same. Now, do I just go up to an individual, I just tell him, you tell me everything right now and because I deserve it? No, the process is you serve them in some way or form. Maybe all that service that's required at that point in time is just listening. Maybe it's offering them some things, giving them something that they like, or doing something for them. But it's more than just serving their body. It's more than just serving their body. Serving the Guru by his body, Vapu Seva, is amazing. It's great. It's necessary. But at some point, he's not going to be there physically for you. At some point, he's not going to be there physically for you. So we have to learn to follow through Vani. The Vani, we can serve constantly. What he instructs us, the words he says, what he gives us. Because at the time of death, that's at least one thing that we have that we can follow. If he gives us some instruction, even if it's just following the 4 regs and chanting 16 rounds and spreading Mahaprabhu's mission, that's the greatest service one can do right there within itself. Maybe he has something specific for you specifically that you're supposed to do. No matter what it is, we can serve through the Vani. And we could serve Krishna as well as the sages from before through their Vani as well, because we also have the instructions from the 6 Goswamis, Vyasadeva, Narada Muni. We have all these instructions through our Shastras, or books that have been written by these great personalities that we can follow, remember, and take with us wherever we are. And the message always remains the same between all these individuals. They may be many personalities, but the message always remains the same, and the process always remains the same. And you'll hear in all these things that, with your tongue, you should chant Hare Krishna, and you should take prasadam. With your ears, you should hear about the glories of the Lord. You should hear the holy name. With the eyes, you should see the deities, the form of the Lord. With your legs, you should walk around walk to the temple or circumambulate Tulasi. With the body, you should hug the devotees. With your head, you should bow down. There's so many ways you could use all these facilities that we've been given within this embodiment to serve Krishna. Because it's not about rejecting everything. It's about accepting what we've been given and using it within Krishna service. So we have a body, and we're given that body. Maybe it's really nice facility. You know, we're really able to do all kinds of things. We got the energy, we got the strength, we got all this. Or maybe not. And whatever platform we're at, we should learn how to serve to the best of our capacity through our mind, bodies, and words. So it all comes down to serving the devotees, chanting, taking Mahaprasadam, following the instructions of those from before, following these guidances, because we're being guided constantly, but are you listening? There's so much guidance being given to us, but oftentimes we have third-class intelligence. We hear it, but we keep making the same mistake over and over and over, expecting a different result. The literal definition of insanity. Second class, we hear it, we make the mistake anyway, but we learn from that mistake. First class, you hear it once, okay, I don't need to make that mistake. I've heard it, I'm not going to do that. And so they're giving us the opportunity that we could have first class intelligence. Are you going to take it up to that point? That's up to the individual. But we're given this process, we're given everything so that we can come to the stage of love of God. It's not cheap, but Mahaprabhu has been so merciful that despite our disqualifications, despite how short we live, despite our whatever it may be, he is giving the highest thing to the lowest of people. He is giving the love of God, which controls God himself, to the most unqualified people. Who are we to be able to have that supreme love that so many people do all these austerities for? Or even just control God. Not that that's not what we're wanting. We're not wanting to control God, but God's controlled by love. So he's giving this to anybody, the homeless people, the men, the women, this race, that culture, this culture. He's giving it to everyone. And he's saying, chant these names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Purchase me, please. Take me. I'm within your heart, and I've been waiting for you so long, birth after birth, but you've ignored me birth after birth. But make this one life for me, please. I'm giving you everything. I'm giving you the Shastras. I'm giving you a guru. I'm giving you the sadhus associated with. Please, surrender unto me. I'll deliver you from all sinful reactions. Forget about your past. Forget what you've done. You're not any of those things. You're my loving servant eternally. If you just surrender me, I'll remove all these sinful activities, all these sinful reactions from you. Do not fear. You have nothing to fear. I'll protect you. So, chant Hare Krishna, serve the devotees. Take all these facilities that we've been gifted by Mahaprabhu's mercy and by extension by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, who took this out of Bharatvarsha and brought it for the whole world, spreading Mahaprabhu's mission to anyone and everyone. So here, I think we'll leave off. If there's any questions or comments. Yes, Mataji.
There's was a devotee named Vidyananda. He's been to many temples. He was a Prabhupada disciple, and he passed away, I think, about quite a while ago. And we used to call him Video Nanda because he was always videoing everything. But he said to me one time, I don't know if it was something Srila Prabhupada said or he made it up in his mind, but it was really cool. He said, we're all sitting around taking prasadam with Krishna. And for a second, we looked at Krishna, just for a second. We thought, why is he in the center? And immediately, we're in the material world. And he said, it's like turning your head and then looking back again. And the time that you have turned your head and thought that, You're in the material world for as long as you're in here. Then you look at Krishna, you thought, wow, I'll never think that again.
Wow. I love it.
Because there's no time factor in the spiritual world. So here we're thinking time comes and time goes. But in the spiritual world, it's, we could be here a trillion years, but in the spiritual world, it's just, it's eternal. So, yeah. And one other thing that you mentioned about becoming lower and lower and lower, it's because the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. In the material world, people strive to get up, 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 up. And devotees tend to want to become more humble, more humble, more humble, more humble. But actually, it's the opposite is right. But if you display that humility in public, people will just eat you up because the false ego is just they're so strong. So devotees have to kind of like fake it a little bit, to the karmis, to the non-devotees, we can't play the weakling, yes, Prabhu, you go, they're like that, I tried that. I was nursing and I tried acting like that. Those nurses chewed me up and spit me out. It was heavy. So I had a lot of realizations from that.
Yeah, I think that's another good thing to remember. And we see that within Prabhupada. Prabhupada was the most humble. He saw himself as a servant to everyone. Yet, he carried himself in such a way that he was proud that he's a servant of Krishna. You should be proud of that. Not to get your ahankar, your false ego puffed up or anything, but you should carry yourself to proper time, place, and circumstance. All right, anyone else before we end the class? All right, I guess we'll end there. Grantaraya Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.